I'm joined by our press reviewer, France Philomeno.
Hi, Jade.
Good morning. It seems the papers are continuing to react to that vote in Switzerland, which is cracking down on immigrants.
That's right. We saw a lot of emotion in the French press. It's also getting a lot of attention in the international press. Let's take a look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. That you can see there, Swiss vote stirs concern in Europe. And in its editorial, the Wall Street Journal talks about Fortress Switzerland. And it points out that, sure, this vote is democracy. The Swiss people voted, but the effects of this vote could be wide-ranging and damaging. A more open Switzerland is likely to be more successful and more prosperous. And when Switzerland was more closed, it was actually a lot more of a poor country, according to the Wall Street Journal. So to quote the article, it says, "We expect the Swiss will come around and see the point."
All right, and the Swiss themselves, the Swiss press, are giving it their perspective.
That's right. Now, analysts say that this was really rural Switzerland that was voting in favor of bringing these quotas back. It was a vote against a certain intellectual elite, politicians, and, well, perhaps the media, because a lot of the articles I pulled out from the Swiss press are actually against the vote. Let's look at Le Temps, for instance, that talks about less Europe, more trouble. It points out that dropping these bilateral agreements will actually weaken Switzerland. I also pulled out a cartoon from Le Temps by Chapat, where you can see Switzerland and the EU shaking hands there, and, well, Switzerland is painfully cutting its arm off. Now, La Tribune, another paper, looks at the consequences of this vote. Economists say, for instance, that it sparked a lot of economic uncertainty. It's unclear what the consequences will really be, but economists from Credit Suisse say that 80,000 jobs could get cut. And La Tribune also looks at how people along the border, the Franco-Swiss border, are reacting to this vote. Well, whether they're nurses, waiters, or workers, according to this article, they are concerned about uncertainty in the long run, but they're not really worried about their situation changing now. To quote the article, "They can't kick us out from one day to the next."
All right, and there's also a lot of focus on the unrest that's going on in Bosnia, those protests that have lasted 6 days already.
That's right. It's on the front page of the International New York Times today with a photo of those protesters, the most widespread protests in almost 2 decades. Now, the International New York Times points out that Bosnia is actually faltering due to the outcome of the Dayton Accords in the 1990s. It's because of this that we're seeing these protests today. Now, it's a very interesting article in The Guardian that's critical, actually, of the way that the EU deals with Bosnia. It deals with nationalist elites, but what this article says is interesting is that the people in the streets are actually crossing ethnic lines to fight against corruption. And so, according to this article, that's actually hope for the region.
Okay. There's also a lot of focus as well on high-profile athletes coming out of the closet.
That's right. Both sides of the Atlantic are focusing on this today. First of all, in Britain, Casey Stoney, she's the captain of England's women's football team, and she's come out as gay. Now, this makes her the most high-profile openly gay footballer in the country, and critics say, though, that the football world, especially the male world, is still very homophobic.
Okay, from one homophobic football world to another, this time in the States.
That's right. This is American football. And let's take a look at an article in the International New York Times that points out that the American football world, well, it's being shaken up by another high-profile player coming out, and this is Michael Sam. He is actually a defense linesman for the University of Missouri. He is an NFL prospect, and he's proudly come out. So if he's drafted, this will make him the first publicly gay player in the National Football League, and actually in any of the 4 major professional sports in the U.S., whether it's football, basketball, baseball or hockey. Now, this is a landmark announcement, and a lot of papers, including the Washington Post, are saying what this means is that the NFL is really going to have to examine how it deals with homosexuality. This article points out that even though Americans are a lot more accepting of gay rights, well, America's favorite sport is a little bit behind. And the Daily Beast wonders, is this going to spark some sort of a trend? Because there are currently 1,700 active NFL players. Some of them are bound to be gay, according to this article. But here we have a rookie who's crossing the line. This article says it's unlikely that other professional players, are going to want to follow suit just now.
All right, Florence Philomeno, thanks as always for that look at what's making headlines in the international papers. We're going to take a short break, but stay with us. When we come back, we'll be remembering the Egyptian revolution. 3 years on, many say the country is sliding back to an autocratic state with power firmly in the hands of the military and Mubarak-era figures making a political comeback. Our correspondents take a look at the situation in our Focus segment. Do stay tuned.